Welcome back to Ayaz Get ready to unlock the power of async await in Angular. Whether you are a beginner or a seasoned pro, today's tutorial will enhance your coding toolkit. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more awesome content. Async await in JavaScript is a game changer for handling asynchronous operations. It simplifies the way we write asynchronous code, which can include HTTP requests, timer, or any task that depends on external data. Let's start with the old school approach in our function. So right now my Angular project is already running. This is an empty Angular project. So here I will create a function. First function is fetch data, then return new promise, and we will pass it a callback function that will receive the resolve function, and within that I will use a set timeout, and after 2 seconds it will resolve the data and pass this text as the response of this promise. Now I'm going to create a function display data, and this dot fetch data dot then, and this will receive the data that you are passing the resolve function. Now I will simply console that data in the logs, and at the end I will catch the error if there are any in the catch block. Now let's call this function in the constructor. So I'm going to define my constructor here. Now let's test this application. Open the inspect element in the Angular. So you can see after 2 seconds it will display the data that we are sending in the resolve function. So this works, but it can get unwieldy with complex logic. So now let's clean it up with async await. We start by labeling our function with async, which allows us to use await inside it. Await passes the function in a non-blocking way until the promise settles. So as we are using then function here, so here I'm going to use async, and now I will just use await here, and to receive the response that we are sending here, I can receive it in another variable. Let response is equal to this. So in this way you can take out the response. You don't need to use a dot then function. And what about handling the error? So in async functions you have to use try catch block to handle to catch the errors, and here you can simply console it. Now let's console the response. Now let's test it. So you can see after 2 seconds the response data has been displayed in the console logs. Notice the try catch block here that we added. That's how we handle errors with the async await. In Angular we often use services for data fetching. So let's create a service first, and then I will show you. ng generate service and name it data. So here I will first of all inject a service private http client. Okay, now I will create a function here, get data, and this is going to return this .http.get method. So I'm calling the get function of the HTTP that will hit this endpoint with the get method, and this is the URL of the JSON placeholder API that is free of cost if you want to just try out the API as in just for experiments. So it will give us a list of users, but right now this is going to return us an observable, but we need promise. So I will convert it into the promise by using toPromise. As toPromise function is deprecated, so I will replace it with some other implementation. There is another function from RxJS that is last value from. So this will convert it into the promise, as you can see here. Now this function, whenever you call this function, you will receive a promise, and after settling that promise you will receive the data. Okay, now let's refactor this Angular service method to use. So this is the initial state of our service. Let's refactor this Angular service method to use async await for a more elegant approach. So I will just wrap it in the try catch. Okay, and Here I will use await, and to use await I need to add async here. And if there is any error, I will return the null. So here we use last value from to convert the observable to a promise, because await works with promises. Now let's put it all together in a component. So go back to the app.component, and here let's inject the data service here. Okay, let me delete everything for now. Let data is equal to this data service dot get data, and as get data function is returning us a promise, so I will add a async here. Actually, you cannot use async before the constructor, so you have to call another function get data, or you can call it load data async here, and move this logic in that function and then call that function instead. You will just add await load that data in the console. Now let's give it a try. Reload it, and you will see that we got some data. This is the list of the users that are coming from the network request. So this is the network request that went to the JSON placeholder, and you can see all of the data that came into our component. Alright, our component now uses the async service method. It awaits the data before updating the view, all without blocking the UI. That's it. Async await makes your Angular code cleaner and more readable. Don't forget to practice and explore more advanced use cases. For more tips, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Share your async await experiences in the comments below. See you in the next tutorial.